Indigenous people need to learn about who they are from who they were. The importance of the museum is so that people from being children on through the elders can come and experience the history, the culture, and the traditions of the Oneida Nation from an Oneida Nation perspective. So there's a repository of items here that have been donated and collected that are actually Oneida artifacts, Oneida memories. A very dear friend of mine made these corn husk dolls, and she was amazing. And to see her legacy here today shows me that it wasn't forgotten. And one of the stories about the corn husk dolls is they have no face. I have seen this exhibit, the corn husk doll, for the very first time, and it's amazing. It represents the chiefs of the Oneida from the bear, the wolf, and the turtle clans. So something that's important is people perceive a chief as one ruler who is over everybody. And the Oneida had several chiefs. They had medicine chiefs, they had war chiefs, they had peace chiefs. So the chiefs all served a different purpose, and they were selected by the women of the tribe. Our clan mothers were the most revered, respected, knowledgeable, and powerful women amongst the Oneida Nation and many of the Iroquois and the Haudenosaunee tribes. So the clan mothers selected the chiefs. They appointed them based upon their virtues, their values, what they seen exhibited as good, strong men who would see the best interest of the tribe. Now, if a chief fell aside and no longer held the best interest or no longer acted in the manner that was responsible of a chief, the clan mothers could take their horns away. She could dethrone him. Had we had women making decisions in the U.S. history, we may not have gone to war as often. We may have found peace, and we may have been able to build bridges with the countries rather than build walls.
The collection was started by the first director of the museum, Florence Jones. She had items from her personal collection that she used to start the acquisition of museum artifacts. From then, we received artifacts and various items pertaining to Oneida culture and history from the community. Since the 1980s, we had 6 major acquisitions, and those acquisitions encompass now over 6,000 artifacts. We have Oneida language incorporated within our exhibits, within our text panels, and our interpretive content as much as we possibly can incorporate them. We try to.
Long ago, before there was any land here, there was water all over. The only things were the creatures that lived in the water and the birds that flew above the waters. Now further above, there was land, which is called the sky world. And there were people living there, but these people had supernatural powers. But she could not hold on, and she fell through. As she fell through, the birds and the water animals saw light through the hole that was made, and they could see something falling. So the birds went up to see what it was, and they noticed it was a woman from the sky world.
These are some of the accessories also from our collection, and this would include silver work as well as raised beadwork. We are known for our raised beadwork in the 1850s in New York State. Raised beadwork actually developed as a result of the tourism trade at Niagara Falls. And so this art form is one of the art forms that we brought with us here to Wisconsin. And our Oneida people today still foster that art form, and they're getting better and better, and so we have examples of that in our collection. These are some of the wampum belts that we have. Again, these are replica wampum belts. They're not the real thing or the original thing. And the Hiawatha belt is representative of the 5 nations at the time that accepted the Great Law of Peace, which is the oral constitution that the Haudenosaunee Confederacy abides by. The U.S. Constitution is modeled after the Confederacy. Most of the Founding Fathers were very well aware of how the Confederacy was governed at the time, that they were looking at how to form a union. And there is several writings from Benjamin Franklin and other Founding Fathers stating that they sat in on these councils and watched how we conducted ourselves in the Confederacy. And so they took examples of that. I believe there was a House concurrent resolution in 1988 that acknowledged, the United States acknowledged our contribution to the formation of the United States because of that. The physical collection also is a representation and solidifies our sovereignty as a nation here. And so I think the physical collection serves as a reminder, that we're unique and we're separate from other nations, but we also have our own culture and our own history and what sets us apart from other tribal nations.
I like to think that everybody has a history, and each group, whether they be Oneida of another tribe, or perhaps they're Finnish or Polish or Swedish or French, they have a history. They have a country. Most of them have a country they can go back to where they can get their language and they can see their history and they can see what their ancestors were. United States, this is our home. This is the only place we can go back to. When our history fails and when our history begins to fade, so do the Oneida people. And I think you'll find with most indigenous groups, there's something that is in their prophecies that say maybe someday we won't exist as we had in the past. So for all these other cultures and groups to come here and see this while it's here and while we're here, they have to appreciate. The Oneidas are not just a casino. The Oneidas are not just dancers with feathers and jingles and bright colors once or twice a year. The Oneidas are people with a heart and a history and a family foundation, and they had land and they had so many things that contributed to where we are today in terms of our cultural practices, our agricultural practices, our legends, our histories, our stories, our food sustenance. All those things contribute to today's society in one way or another. And this museum and other places like this help that public realize the value of the Oneida Nation.
The museum provides accurate information about the Oneida and Iroquois culture, history, and nationhood. Visitors can have a unique and enlightening experience to be valued by all ages for the next 7 generations.